Welcome to RetroQuest, I'm Jay, and today we're playing Mace the Dark Age on the Nintendo 64, which was originally released in 1997. I have fond memories of playing this with friends back at school. It was on rotation alongside N64 staples like GoldenEye, Mario Kart, and the various THQ wrestling games. So let's not waste any more time, and let's boot it up. Mace the Dark Age is a 3D fighting game developed by Atari Games and released in arcades in early 1997. The game was later ported to the N64 by Midway Games and released in October of the same year. It's set in a dark, medieval fantasy world, and the game features a variety of characters, each with unique weapons and fighting styles, competing to gain control over the powerful Mace of Tanis, a mystical artifact with deadly capabilities. The gameplay of Mace the Dark Age is characterised by its weapons-based combat and grim aesthetic, reminiscent of other fighting games of the era, but with a distinctly darker and more brutal edge. The game includes a roster of 16 playable characters, 2 bosses and 6 hidden characters, which I don't think I knew about before researching this. As kids, we only ever played head-to-head, and my friend who owned the game rarely played it on his own to unlock any additional characters. The development team were driven by the desire to create a fighting game that could compete with the likes of Mortal Kombat and Soul Edge, but with a darker, distinct twist. Although I'm not sure how you get darker than Mortal Kombat. A key technological aspect of Mace the Dark Age was its use of the 3DFX Voodoo graphics technology, which was state of the art at the time. This allowed for highly detailed 3D environments and character models, setting it apart from many of its contemporaries. During development, the team faced several challenges, particularly in balancing the complexity of the fighting mechanics with the need for responsive controls. Creating a satisfying combat system that allowed for intricate combos and special moves while ensuring the game was accessible to players was a significant hurdle. Additionally, implementing the various execution moves required careful animation and programming to ensure they were both visually impressive and functionally integrated. The development also involved rigorous testing to fine-tune the combat mechanics and ensure the game ran smoothly on both arcade hardware and the Nintendo 64 console. This process was crucial for maintaining a consistent frame rate and graphical fidelity, which were essential for the game's fast-paced, action-heavy gameplay. Mace the Dark Age is set in a dark medieval fantasy world and revolves around the powerful and deadly artifact known as the Mace of Tanis. This mystical weapon is imbued with immense power and has the potential to grant its wielders dominion over the known world. The storyline is built around the various characters, each driven by their own motives to seek the mace, be that for power, vengeance or redemption. Some of the more notable characters include Asmodeus. He's the central antagonist, a powerful sorcerer who conjures the Mace of Tanis. His dark ambitions and manipulative nature make him a formidable foe. He orchestrates the tournament, drawing warriors from across the lands to fight for the mace. Then there's Lord Demos, a favourite of mine, a heavily armoured knight with a tragic past. He seeks the mace to avenge the destruction of his homeland and to reclaim his honour. Then there's Taria, a skilled and deadly assassin. She's motivated by a personal vendetta and the promise of power. Her agility and precision make her one of the most dangerous contenders. Then there's Mordus Cull, a ruthless warlord who sees the mace as a means to cement his rule over the lands. His brutal fighting style reflects his harsh personality. Al-Rashid, a desert warrior from Arabia. He joins the quest for the mace to protect his people from the encroaching darkness. And then there's Takeshi Tsunami, a samurai seeking to restore his clan's honour. Takeshi hopes the mace will help him achieve this goal and bring peace to his land. The game's lore and setting draw heavily from various historical and mythological sources, blending them into a unique and darkly fantastical world. Unlike many traditional 2D fighters, Mace the Dark Age allows characters to move within a 3D plane, giving players the ability to sidestep and dodge attacks, adding a layer of depth to the combat. This movement mechanic is essential for avoiding projectiles and executing more strategic maneuvers. Each character wields a unique weapon, such as swords, axes or maces, which heavily influence their fighting style. The combat system revolves around using these weapons for both quick and strong attacks, combining them with kicks, throws and special moves. The game uses a straightforward control scheme, typical of many fighting games of the era, with buttons dedicated to quick attacks, strong attacks, that kick we mentioned, and of course special moves. This layout allows for easy execution of basic attacks, while providing the depth for more advanced combinations and special moves. Players can chain together attacks into combos, requiring precise timing and button combinations. Each character also has a unique execution move, which are brutal finishing attacks that can be performed under specific conditions, adding a dramatic flair to the end of matches. The arenas in Mace the Dark Age are not merely backdrops either, but feature interactive elements like acid pools, spikes and swinging blades. These hazards can be used strategically to deal additional damage to opponents, encouraging players to use the environment to their advantage. Some arenas even feature multiple levels or tiers, adding verticality to the combat and allowing for more dynamic and varied battle scenarios. Mace the Dark Age received a mixed reception from critics and players upon its release. The game was noted for its impressive graphics and unique setting, but it was also criticised for its gameplay mechanics and overall execution. Critics generally praised the game's dark, medieval fantasy aesthetic and the detailed character designs. The use of the 3DFX Voodoo graphics technology was highlighted as a significant technical achievement, providing a visually striking experience for players. The interactive environments and gruesome execution moves also garnered positive remarks for their creativity and the impact on gameplay. The gameplay itself received mixed reviews. While the concept of weapon-based combat and the ability to sidestep on a 3D plane were appreciated, many critics found the controls to be clunky and the character movements sluggish. Frame rate issues, which often dip below 20 frames per second, contributed to a less smooth and responsive experience, detracting from the overall enjoyment of the game. The complexity and depth of the combat system were recognised, but the execution was seen as lacking compared to other fighting games of the time. The controls, while functional, were often described as unresponsive, making it difficult for players to execute precise moves and combos. This is a significant drawback in a genre where fluidity and precision are critical. Despite its shortcomings, Mace the Dark Age developed a niche following among retro gaming enthusiasts. Players who enjoyed that dark fantasy setting and the violent, more mature themes found it to be a compelling title, even if it didn't reach the heights of its more polished contemporaries. Over time, the game has been appreciated more for its unique aesthetic and ambitious design rather than its gameplay. It remains a memorable title for those who experienced it during its original release, and it has a certain nostalgic value for fans of the era's fighting games. Mace the Dark Age did not have any sequels or spin-offs. The game remains a standalone title with no direct continuations or expansions in its series, and despite its dark fantasy setting and weapon-based combat, the game did not generate enough commercial success or critical acclaim to warrant further entries. It stands alone as a unique entry in the fighting game genre. It offered a distinctive experience despite mixed reviews and its lack of sequels. The game has maintained a niche following, appreciated for its ambitious design and atmospheric presentation. It remains a noteworthy example of 1990s fighting games, showcasing both creative ambition and the era's technological advancement. Revisiting this game was truly challenging. I realised how little I knew about the game and how little I'd actually mastered it, which was probably clear from the gameplay footage, which I'm sure is not doing the full experience justice. I still have great memories of this game, but I think it's perhaps one best left to nostalgia. It really doesn't stand up to modern alternatives, or even some of the more notable releases of its era. Let me know in the comments if you played Mace the Dark Age, and what you thought of it back in the day. If there's a game you'd like to see me cover on RetroQuest, you can let me know down in the comments too, and I'll be sure to check those out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.